Welcome to Conversations with Garmamie. This is episode 18. Our guest is Tyler Hessel.
It's pretty cool that I can live in a town in southwestern Ontario where I can take my kids paddleboarding, and then right after a storm I can go and do some freshwater surfing, and then the next day I'll go riding with bike riding with people that are all age demographics, and then we do a kids camp and I go skateboarding on our half pipe and ride with the kids for like 5 days straight and just have a lot of fun with them, right? So it's pretty cool. I'm pretty lucky to be able to do all those things, that's for sure.
Tyler Hessel is the Mayor of Bluewater, a town located in Huron County, Ontario. Bluewater includes the communities of Bayfield, Blake, Brucefield, Dashwood, Hensall, Kippen, St. Joseph, Sarepta, Vanastra, Varna, and Zurich. For more information on the Municipality of Bluewater, visit www.town.bluewater.on.ca. That's town.bluewater.on.ca. Now here's our conversation with the mayor.
I'm currently the Mayor of Bluewater. I'm in my first term as a Mayor of Bluewater, and saying that I've been in local politics for 8 years. I've kind of climbed the ladder, so to speak, and I'm blessed and lucky to be helping lead our community into a future direction that I think is very positive. And so far, in the first 10 months, I think the community itself has been really happy with the things we've been able to do. We have a very small budget at our community, just over $6.5 million, and we've almost found between projects and different grant programs, we're getting close to $4 million, and that's like 2/3 of our normal budget. So that's a pretty cool thing. A lot of hard work from staff, and at the same time, our council is very interested in moving forward and finding little pockets of money, because that's what builds the community better, and you get those small little projects going, and you move forward. Yeah.
Could you give us a description of this city, or this town actually, and in terms of demographics, how many people, the main employer, and so on, economic breakdown, and so on?
Sure. So the community that I'm mayor in is approximately 8,000 people. It includes 3 villages, 3 hamlets, and then a lot of agricultural property, as well as we have a very strong shoreline. So as for age demographic, we are the largest or fastest growing community in all of Huron County, which is our second tier municipality. We are kind of the one that helps bring them to zero every year when it comes to no loss in people, but no growth. So that's kind of nice. But we got the growth in Bluewater. Age demographic wise, it is definitely a baby boomer population. A large part of that is because we carry 28 kilometers of shoreline, which is very appetizing for most people that have just finished their career and have a little bit of money to spend. And we carry a lot of the infrastructure and services that they're used to. At the same time, they can have just short of an acre of a lot instead of along the lake, instead of a 50 by 50 lot. So we're very fortunate from that perspective, and there is a very strong family development that is growing, especially in our towns like Hensall and Zurich. Bayfield has the same. Bayfield is our town, or our lakefront town. It drives itself strictly on tourism. Its main employer is tourism. It has a crazy history of being a fishing community / lumber community, or mill community, and the heritage itself is what makes it so quaint. I would say that Zurich is kind of one of those little bedroom communities that has evolved itself into a health and wellness community, where they have a lot of doctors that are right there on site. A lot of people from Bayfield will go to Zurich. That's about a 20-minute drive from the village of Bayfield, which is right on along the lake. And then Hensall is our big industrial town. It's got 2 of the largest seed mills there. Hensall District Co-op is an international business. They do tons of business in the Asian markets. They actually will buy land through farmers to grow specific soybeans and red beans and that type of stuff. They are also supply 40% of the brown beans that are eaten in England. So that's pretty cool, and that's all out of small town here in County, Hensall, and we're pretty fortunate that they're in Bluewater, and they've been able to employ and develop a lot. And then we have small little industries, like we have a small little industry in Hensall that they do elevators for mining, and they're renowned all over South America. Oddly enough, in Canada there isn't the same need, and they've evolved the the elevator business, and they work out of a spot that's 100 by 100. Like it's crazy, and they're most of the time in South America. And then you have Ice Cultures, which is probably one of our most renowned small industries in the community as well. And they're the ones that developed and built the Canadian Tire ice truck, and that was done right in Bluewater, which is pretty special. And it was pretty cool to see that evolve, and then to see it go on, commercials during the Grey Cup and everything else, and the Winter Classic last year. It's a pretty cool thing, and all that stuff happens right in our own backyard. We are very blessed to have clean water, and we're right on Lake Huron, and we have one of the largest freshwater sources in basically all of Canada, let alone North America, and we want to protect that and keep that clean. And our municipality's always been promoting the idea of making sure we have great clean water source for all of our communities. And that area that we draw our water from feeds also London, which is the largest city close to us, which is just short of 400,000 people. And so we're pretty lucky to have what we have. And from our perspective, it's about growing as much as we can. We are a very hidden little community. At the same time, when people come, they make sure they come back again.
So you grew up in this community, right? Why did you decide to stay, and how was it growing up in this area?
Sure. Well, like every kid in Bayfield, I was a skateboarder, and I'm BMX bikes and everything else, and I found that the urban areas were the place to go if you want to ride the cool surfaces and progress better and evolve your talent in sport. I did leave when I was 18. I was pretty fortunate. I got a chance to go and do some backpacking and an international exchange in Norway and Sweden and Finland, and that really opened my eyes to what we had here. And then, of course, just like everyone else, you have to do the big Toronto thing. And then my personality was very geared towards the West Coast, so I lived in Vancouver for a little while, and ended up going to University of Northern British Columbia up in Prince George, and I always was a fan of the northern communities. And
what did you study?
I took outdoor recreation is what I finished with, and that was at Lakehead University. I transferred there to Thunder Bay, took outdoor rec, and then came back to Bayfield, oddly enough, as I was finishing up, and worked in a bar, just like pretty much everyone else does as they're growing up in Bayfield, and met a guy in the bar and said, look, I work for a clothing company called Patagonia, and they're based out of California, founded by a French Canadian, and he said, if you're ever looking for a job, let me know. And I ended up saying, hey, here's my resume, and he was able to help me acquire a job in Australia. So I lived in Melbourne and Sydney for just short of 2 years, and came back home kind of because of family. And in the end, when we got back here, I did some work with my dad, who was a carpenter, and then I realized that this is actually the best place to be, and that raising a family here is pretty special, because you can literally your kid runs away or whatever, or hides in the van. That's what happened to us when we had our first child, and all the neighbors were walking the block, and that's a pretty cool thing, to have all your neighbors going, what's going on, how can I help you? And not to say that you don't get that in the city, for sure you do. The big thing is literally you walk by a house and people are like, oh, how can we help you, or what do you need, or whatever, and they will come start looking for your child too. Little did we know he was laying down in the van playing hide and seek with us. So lesson learned there. But yeah, it's pretty special to live in a community where everyone knows everyone, and that can be a good thing. And of course that has its side effects as well. But from our perspective, I can't find a more friendlier community in all the different places I've traveled in the world that cares so much about the environment you live in, the heritage you're in, and really the development of the community as a whole. And that's pretty special. And they're very open to new businesses coming. Like when we first opened our store, which is a bike shop called Outside Projects, back in 2000. Well, we started in 2007, but our first season was in 2008. And they are extremely welcoming. And the business we bought from, that was in the next largest town just north of us, which was Godrej. We doubled his best year in our first year, and that was in 2008 during the crash. So we felt pretty welcomed in the community when we decided to take the risk and open a business. So It's a very welcoming community. I would use an example right now in Bayfield specifically. We've had 13 new businesses come to the community, and they seem all to be thriving. We're fortunate that we have 12 restaurants, which is crazy because in the wintertime, we only literally have 1,000 people in town. But during the summertime, of course, we jump in population upwards to 4,500 to 5,000 people, which is just a crazy influx. And that's how we seem to operate. We love those influxes, and we make hay when it rains and everything else, and we just want to make sure that everyone prospers because it's all about the growth of a community.
As a mayor for this type of community, what are some of the issues that people come to you about? Give us an idea of some of the political and social and community issues that you come across.
Sure. Well, I would say probably one of the hottest topics in our community is because we're in a rural area and we have the lake, which means we have a reasonably good jet stream. Wind turbines are probably the hottest topic in our community because there's a lot of for and a lot against. Obviously, anyone that has them on their property that has a lease is generally supportive of them. And then, of course, the ones that don't have them may not like them as much. And I think the big thing with any hot topic issue is clear communication. We at Bluewater we've stepped up for sure in this term in making sure that communication is the key for us. The only way we're going to make the community better is if we clearly and transparently put out all the ideas that are on the table. A lot of people think that Bluewater can control the wind turbines. We can't. We have a provincial legislation that basically operates those FIT programs, and we have to follow what they do. And if the companies come and get their agreements settled with them, then they're welcome to move, or they're welcome to go forward with that project. It is a very sensitive project or sensitive program, but from my end of it, I just wasn't pleased that the Green Energy Act took all the planning away from the lower tier municipality. I can't say I'm for or against it. I like green energy. I'm an environmentalist at the same time. When you take all the planning away from a municipality, it basically makes you feel like you had no input at all. And the Green Energy Act was, in my mind, written inappropriately for the rural community. And arguably I would say at a higher level, we have a provincial policy statement that is very geared towards high density development and very urbanized development, which is great. But when we're lucky enough to have all the extra space we have in a rural area, our issues are definitely different, and our planning should be looked at in a different way. I know we've made presentations at Huron County to Premier Wynne and to OMAFRA, which is your rural affairs for the province, asking them to consider doing what is called a rural lens, which actually gives them an opportunity to look at what our needs are versus, say, what the suburban GTA area would need. We obviously have differences in needs, and our biggest loss really from, or maybe the best way to put it, our biggest export, whether it's in Bluewater or Huron County, is our youth, and we don't get them back. And if there's a way we could figure out to bring them back, and I believe one of those ways is having, inexpensive houses and explaining to children, or not children, but young adults that at $40,000 a year in a country area, that's like making 90 in the city. And there's nothing wrong with that, and you can buy a house for something like that. And we have a lot of farmhouses because farms are becoming bigger and bigger all the time, and it's turning into a corporate market world, even for farming and agriculture. Those houses that were on those farms, we should be able to sever them off and sell them to families that want to develop and move here and be back. Because, it used to be you could farm and have 50 acres and survive, and that doesn't happen anymore. Basically, you need 1,000 acres, and I'm sure there's a bunch of guys that get away with 500, but that's still very, very small, and that's one family, right?
On the point of the export, what are the causes for that?
Well, I think a big part of it is, a lot of kids, they're so used to hearing about how fantastic Toronto and our great cities are. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, my favorite city in all the world is Montreal, and when I get a chance, I'll go, and that's like my thing.
What do you like about Montreal?
Oh, I like everything. I love the clubs. I love the food. I love the lifestyle. I love I think I just like the atmosphere, and as being an outdoor guy, it's nice to be able to go down to the eastern townships and go snowboarding like within an hour and a half, and I think that's pretty cool too. So I think there's a lot of cool things in Montreal. Obviously, I'm a bit of a music guy. You grow up in the urban kind of skateboard and BMX world, and there's always been a lot of hip hop and punk rock and kind of college music, and that's what I love about Montreal is they embrace the music and culture a lot. And I think even from the place I live now, which is Bayfield, we do it in a different way. We do it in a much smaller venue, but I still think it's pretty cool to see that type of stuff happen. And like I said, if I have to pick a city to go visit, it's always Montreal. Toronto's great, and I have a lot of friends there, but I feel like I'm in the rat race when I'm there, and Vancouver's way too far away, and they don't have the same music and culture. They just have some pretty cool outdoor things.
Cool. Just a follow-up in regards to when you were speaking about rural issues versus big city GTA issues. Do you feel the provincial government, generally speaking, do they understand and are they open to hearing and engaging people that live in rural communities and so on, as far as decision making for what impacts them and their day-to-day life?
I
know it's a big question.
Sure, yeah, no. I what I would say is you take a city area like Toronto, and that embraces so many people, so many cultures, has a population that's is the largest in Canada. And I can understand why a province wants to gear more stuff towards that city. Arguably, the misfortune for us is, we'd love to broaden our cultural horizons and invite more different people that want to immigrate into our community. Mm-hmm. But it's harder to do because they need to have a license. You hate to say it, but you need to have a driver's license when you come to our community. Because whether you live in Bayfield or Goderich or Exeter or anywhere else, which is all these small towns within Huron County, you'll find that at some point you're going to have to leave and you're going to have to drive. And we don't have the Uber cars, and we just probably started to see more taxis in the last kind of year or so. But, the viability of that for taxiing around our community, it's, $50 to get anywhere, and that's just getting you to the one spot. You can still got to get back home. Mm-hmm. So there's some kind of indiscretions there. I would say probably one of our biggest concerns would just be having the current government listen to what the true needs are. And you hate to say it to get into the partisan end of it, but when you have a large, liberal constituency in the Toronto area, and then you look at the outside of those areas, and they're blue. Let's be honest. Right. And even in our area, it's quite blue. Our provincial and our federal representatives are both conservative.
Traditionally, it's been conservative. Right?
Traditionally, yeah. We had a federal MP who was liberal for quite a long time, and saying that he was probably, I always joke and say he was probably one of the most conservative liberals. I'd call him purple sometimes, okay. But yeah, he was a liberal for quite a long time, and he represented our community well. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I would say position-wise, we tend to be more conservative. I would say the village that we're in right now, Bayfield, it is very liberal. It brings a lot of different liberal attributes. You'll never see so many art galleries or restaurants around, like I mentioned earlier, and the people that want to present new ideas and bring things forward, they're ready to get on it and move forward on it, and it's a very liberal tendency. We had a splash pad in this community, actually in Hensall as well. We had 2 splash pads in our communities. They wanted to, the Optimist and Kinsman in both Hensall and Bayfield wanted to put splash pads in. They raised the money within a year to cover the whole splash pad, and originally they thought they were going to have to borrow money. And those were $150,000, $160,000 projects, and that's all just from donations.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. So I would say we're very progressive. Mm-hmm. The agricultural part of our world, which is probably one of our strongest attributes, it tends to be more conservative. I don't want to state what everyone does, but tends to be more conservative. And if you looked at the people moving to our community versus the people that have been here for a long time, it's probably a 50-50 split, and their partisan values in politics.
Go ahead.
The only other thing I guess I would say is, I really hope in the future that our current provincial government would really take a hard look, and they've said it as of just recently. I was at the St. Lawrence and Great Lakes Initiative where Kathleen Wynne did a surprise showing, and she's mentioned that the rural lens is something that we have to start looking at. And I really do hope they do look at that because their planning policy really does, to a certain degree, almost infuriate what we're trying to do here, and that's just try to keep people here. Not even keep people, give people an opportunity to want to stay here. It's not about keeping people, it's about getting people the opportunity to want to stay here, and it's getting harder and harder all the time. And when you have so much social assistance in the large urban centers versus what we can provide, it's tough, Do
you think people in large urban centers are aware of the challenges for rural communities, generally speaking?
I think it's hard for anyone to really understand unless they have history in a rural area to really know what it is, or if they get a chance to spend a year in a rural area. The people that do leave, they know, and they remember. And, I would say we're losing more all the time to the big urban centers. At the same time, as for people that have grown up in the city and don't know much beyond the city, to educate them, I think would be difficult. And, you always have your big C&E fairs and all these different fairs, and they show a apportionment of agriculture, but it doesn't really show the living. It actually just shows how it happens, what the cattle look like and everything else. Whereas the issues themselves tend to be more of a.
What you're saying is the people in the communities their stories are not being told.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Like it's the there's so many great people in the rural area, and they tend to get classified at maybe different levels of society sometimes. And I guess because I've been exposed to a lot of different financial as well as classes and all that type of stuff, I don't really think about it. If anything, I'd probably say I'm on the low end of poverty half the time. But you know what? We look at it and we say, but how can you put a price on your lifestyle? And that's a choice that people make. That's not a choice that everyone has to make. But from my end of it, I chose the lifestyle as the key for me. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old that literally probably are biking around town right now. They got their helmets on, thank goodness, but they're biking around town, and I don't have to worry about where they're going. When we go to the beach with the kids, like how many kids are going to go jump off the local pier? Well, that's like rite of passage in this town. It's a rite of passage is going down to the beach and suntanning all afternoon, or going paddleboarding or whatever. And not that I'd ever advocate it as a mayor, but I know there's a lot of bonfires that happen at the beach, and that's kind of a rite of passage as well when you're a kid around here. So it's one of those things where to have that type of lifestyle and to sell it is really hard, because you have to experience it first. And I would tell you, the people that come to this community, that come to visit as a tourist, or because of a family cottage or whatever, or for that matter for the very first time, they will want to come back. And the reason they want to come back is they're like, this is an experience that you will not find anywhere else. And as much as I'm not a country music fan, so to speak, I guess I like some, Johnny Cash or whatever. But, you walk down the street and you think you're literally walking into a Western, and there's something to be said about that. At the same time, we have like this crazy beach culture that, you might catch the mayor on a surfboard at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Like, so it's kind of a fun place to be. And, we have such a broad range of people that give so many different experiences. We'll have, our historical society will go walking up and down the street in heritage clothing and just start talking to people out of the blue and whatnot. And last weekend we had this week we had the piping down of the sunset at Pioneer Park. And there's a great example of a unique situation, one of the few privately owned parks in all of Canada. And it has one of the best sunsets in all of Canada in my mind. And, it's privately owned. It's a board of people that literally, it's a non-for-profit board. The park is ran by them. The municipality is not involved. The village is not involved. No one's involved other than the board itself and a bunch of volunteers. And it's likely one of the prettiest parks in all of Canada.
What got you involved in politics? You seem very passionate about your community and being, you're part of this community. You're involved in it in many ways. But what got you involved in the political world?
Sure. Well, I guess I would say that I used to always say, I don't know whatever got me into politics. I don't know where it ever came from, but I'm in it now, and I'm in it for the long haul. And then I have friends that always remind me, well, you remember in high school, Tyler, you were vice president of the student council. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I was, but I didn't feel like I did anything. And then during my university years, I actually worked for the Canadian Federation of Students, which is a student union lobbyist group. And so I worked for them for quite a while, more as a background guy, but I didn't really think it was much of politics at any point. It was kind of I was a design guy, so I helped design and take pictures and do some media stuff for them. So, I didn't think much of it, but now that I look at the different tastes of political avenues I was involved in at different levels, and generally in the background, never in the foreground like I am today, I guess it's always been there. But when I came back here and I worked, before we opened the store, I worked in the automotive industry in sales, and as an environmentalist, that's probably the most difficult job because it's such an ironic feeling, really. But I did that for a while, and I was just like, I just wasn't gratified, and so I decided to get into local politics to see how it worked, and I got elected, thank goodness. And I was a representative for the village of Bayfield in our municipal council. And then after that 4-year term, I ended up taking on another 4-year term as what they call the councillor at large. So that's a position that is voted by all the residents of Bluewater, which is the 8,000 can vote for you. When it's Bayfield, it's only roughly 1,000 or 1,200 that vote for you. So I won the second time around as a councillor at large. And, I'd conferred with my mayor and deputy mayor to find out what they were going to do last term. And they weren't very clear or decisive, and I was tired of waiting. And, I guess maybe it's my youth or whatever. I decided, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to go for it all. And so I filed my name on January 2nd and pretty much started campaigning shortly thereafter. And started knocking on doors and talking to people and listening to what they had to say. And their big thing was we needed a bit of a change, and we needed a bit of spunk, maybe is a better way to put it. And I think we brought that to the table, and we had a few different other members that changed as well, and I think for the positive. We've been very progressive. We going after every grant we can find, and we're bringing lots of money back into the community. And later today, I'll be getting another acknowledgement from the federal government on roughly another $80,000 grant. And I think the key for us is we're looking at the small pockets of money, and we're not going after the big pockets because it's hard to compete against the Torontos and everything else. But if you look at what we've been able to acquire in the first 10 months of grants and projects and everything else, you are looking closer to the $4 million mark. And when you have a $6.7 million roughly budget, that's a large portion of your budget. So we're creating some huge economic development just by doing and finding these smaller grants.
How are residents of this community, what do they think about your leadership thus far? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. I've done my homework online and blah, 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 and I've heard good things, and, give us your spin on it.
Well, it's hard to pat yourself on the back, I guess. But what I will say is people have been very receptive to how we're running business or how we're running the municipality now. I would say we're definitely making waves in the municipal sector. Our last conference, which was in Toronto, our municipality, which has never had more than 2 delegations at a conference, had 7. And that's just because we realize that you have to change the way you do business. We are one of the few municipalities in all of southwestern Ontario that has really decided, you know what, we got to partner with our neighbors to make things happen. So we're doing all sorts of different programming. We're sharing staff. We're really looking at how we can be cooperative neighbors, and that's really hit a high level for us. And I'm glad to say that I get to have a one-on-one sit down with the Minister of Rural Affairs as well as Tourism and Culture in the August conference up in AMO in Niagara Falls, and that's already been a guaranteed. And I've had calls from many of the provincial staff saying, just giving you a heads up, blah, 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 and, we want to tell you about, or we want to make sure you're aware that this is coming, so you have all your notes and everything. So, it's not often you get the calls from the bureaucrats from the province to say, hey, be ready. And a big part of it is they're saying, I don't know what you guys are doing, but you're doing something right because you're getting everyone's ear to the ground about how Bluewater is doing things different and how we're changing the way municipal government should be run.
So you have, it sounds like there's support.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Well, I would say the measurable is how much different projects and funding dollars we've been able to get from the province and the federal governments, and it's because we're doing things differently. We're looking at partnerships. We're not looking at how we can do it on our own. We're looking about how can we incorporate our neighbors to make it more cost efficient, not just for us but for them, and how we can provide better service for our entire community. Because at the end of the day, you only have so many service dollars or tax dollars, and when those tax dollars run out and you don't have the service that you provided before, you got to cut something, and obviously we don't want to cut anything. And when we have increased fees that are not controllable, like our OPP costs in Bluewater will have gone up in 5 years $1 million, and we were only paying $700,000 before. So you got to figure out how you're going to accommodate all that stuff, and when you do that, you want to make sure that that you're not going to kill all the services around it. And I think we're doing a good job. We're leading by example. We're trying to be leaders in our community, and we're trying to be leaders for the province in rural areas.
Speak to us about you're an entrepreneur. Yes, you're involved in business. Speak to us about your business. What inspired you? I think you kind of mentioned a bit earlier on, but just speak to us about your business and what kind of services and what have you provide.
Yeah, so my business, my side business, or
Right,
I guess the main business for me that I am passionate about, as much as I'm very passionate about being mayor, is outside projects. I briefly spoke about it earlier. It's bikes, boards, and apparel is how we kind of sum it up real quick. But it's we do bicycle sales, service, and rentals. We do paddleboard sales and service and rentals. We have a bunch of great clothing in the store. We run a lot of corporate activities in the fall, sometimes in the summer, but more so in the fall and in the spring. So we'll take a good example would be like Manulife Financial, a lot of their district managers, and we'll go and do like a team building activity. Sometimes it can be something like the Beach Olympics in the summertime to my favorite one is the games we played as a kid, and I make 6-year-old guys ride a BMX, and stuff like that, and kick a soccer ball around and play lacrosse and just stuff you would have done when you were younger, but you're not going to do it anymore, and just kind of have fun. And then we do snowshoe tours and historical walks of the village. Probably my favorite thing, though, just because it makes me feel young again, is we run 2 kids camps. One is in third week in July and the second week in August. So our August one's coming up on August 10th through 14th, and it's a skateboard. It's what we call it an extreme kids camp. So it's skateboarding, it's paddleboarding, wakeboarding, mountain biking. And then what we do is we talk about, I'm a strong believer in independent sports, that there's a large portion of creativity. And whether it's team sports or independent sports, you can take, a hockey player like Sidney Crosby. The reason he changed the game is he looked at it differently. And he looked at, how can I do this differently to get around or perfect my skating better or anything else? And that's creativity. I look at, my heroes, as much as not everyone will know about it, but like the Bones Brigade, that's where Tony Hawk started, and Steve Caballero and Mike McGill and Tommy Guerrero and all these old school skateboarders, and they looked at the sport and they looked at the tools they had and they changed it. I would say you look at the tool you have, and if you can find something different or make something different out of it, you're always going to progress something. And what we do for the kids camp is every kid at the end of the camp gets a skateboard. But the cool thing is first day we make them kind of come up with a nickname, and we talk about their favorite colors and the sports and sport teams that they like and everything else, and we get them thinking about how to design a logo for that skateboard. And we work with Cry Art Studio down the road, and they end up helping them design graphics for the bottom of that board that they get to keep their own, and that's their kind of their logo and their style. And it's a pretty cool thing for people to see that it doesn't have to be always follow the line. There's sometimes a better line to take.
Mm-hmm. What you've been mayor almost 8 months to a year now?
Yeah, almost 10 months now.
10 months.
Yeah.
Have you are you interested down the road to pursue potential provincial or federal politics as an MPP? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm listening to you talking, and I'm just wondering, like, what you've been involved in community politics for almost a decade now, and if the opportunity came, would you be interested in that, as far as maybe provincial politics or federal politics, so on and so forth?
I get asked that question a lot.
Sure.
I'll be honest, from my perspective, I would hope that I get an opportunity to represent Bluewater for a couple terms would be ideal. From my own perspective, I think after that's done, because I'm a believer in you can't stay in the same spot too long, because if you stay in the spot too long, it gets stale. Mm-hmm. And I believe if there's better up and coming people that are willing to do something and do it in a right style and make sure it adds to the flavor, let's make it happen. And I believe the people in the end choose who they want. And I think a representative of that is this past election for Bluewater, and they chose to have something different that was going to push the envelope a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. I am pushing the envelope. Am I making everyone happy? I don't know. But I know we're doing a lot of things that we never did before, and I would say our community is better for it. As for looking at provincial or federal level end of things, I got to be honest. I would, if anything, I would like to look at possibly getting into some the background stuff again. I don't know what that would be. I've always had a keen interest in economic development, and I think that's kind of how I postured myself as a mayor. But I think there's an opportunity probably there for me, whether it's in consulting or working with the province or with the federal government. I'm not even sure. But I think I'd like to kind of sit back and kind of get back into the grassroots where you're implementing the action instead of just the ideas guy all the time. I like being able to problem solve that type of stuff. So I don't know if I'd go that direction. If I was going to, I'd probably put some time in first. And you hate to say it, if you look at my age and that type of timeline, I'm probably a perfect fit to be looking to be an MP or an MPP, right? So if that were to come my way, for sure. But I'm blessed. I got 3 beautiful children, and I'm pretty lucky where I sit right now. And my family puts up with a lot, because I got generally 50 million ideas in my head, and I'm lucky to get one of them out to them, and I probably tell everyone else all of them, right? So it's kind of how it works in my household. So we're fortunate that they put up with me, and when I come home and I'm stressed and I just end up crashing on the couch, I don't get in trouble, but it's one of those things where my mind is generally exhausted, and I gotta wake up and be fresh again. And not generally the next morning I'm up at 4:00 and I have an answer to the problem I was trying to figure out all day yesterday. So it's always funny how that stuff works. And I foremost, I'm always a father. I have a pretty unique history, I guess, in that the reason I'm so passionate about this community is because the community raised me. My mom passed away when I was quite young, and my sisters were very young, so I turned into a parent pretty quickly at the age of 13. And my dad, he was a great father, but he worked all the time, and he wanted to make sure that we had food on the table, and we could play all the sports we wanted to play, or whatever they may be. And so my grassroots are really in family. I got 2 great sisters that have great little kids, and they live pretty close to here, so that's great. Now I not on a sad note, but I'm basically the dad. My dad passed away about 7 years ago, and so I get looked at as kind of Grandpa Hessel a lot of the time with my sister's kids, and so family is really important to me. My kids are extremely important to me, and Well, my wife, she puts up with all that, and that's pretty amazing amazing in any way you look at it, to be honest.
Cool. Thank you very much for granting us this interview.
Tyler.
You're a cool person. Yeah. Yes.
Just don't ever call me your worship.
I was gonna.
I
was gonna say.
I get your worship, and I get your honor and everything else, and I joke and I say, well, if you're gonna call me that, you got to call my wife your first lady, and I don't know. I think we're in the end, we're who we are, and I always joke and say, you can call me everything under the sun behind my back. Just call me Tyler or Ty when you're talking to my face.
Very cool. Any last words you want to share with members of your community and the world, and then from there also, if you can give us your website for. Or your email, how to reach you or your business?
So, it's, my business is outsideprojects.ca. And you can get our email right off that, which is outsideprojects@tcc.on.ca. As well as I'd check you out Municipality of Bluewater.ca, and that takes you to our municipality. And of course, my contact information there is thessel@huroncounty.ca. And I'm pretty readily available, so don't be scared to give me a ring or give me a call. And I guess last note, if you haven't been to Bluewater or Bayfield or Hensall or Zurich, you don't know what you're missing, so you better come out and check it out.
Last question. 3 words that describe this area. 3 key words that you think kind of represent this area.
I can't give you 3, but
Give me 5.
What I'll tell you is great things happen to great communities, and if you come here, you'll see how great this community is.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Garmamie. For more information, visit garmamie.com. That's GARMAMIE.com. GARMAMIE.com.